The topic is menstrual cycle and ovarian cycle. So in this we discuss the competency, uterine changes during the menstrual cycle. Menstrual cycle is caused by changes in the uterine endometrium. Menstruation is discharging of blood and tissue debris from the uterus. It is a process of readjustment of the uterus to the non-pregnant state. An ovulatory cycle. In an ovulatory cycle, endometrial changes are minimal. Proliferative phase of endometrium develops as usual. There is no ovulation. There is no corpus luteum formation. So, the endometrium does not progress to secretory phase and continues to be of proliferative type until the beginning of the next menstruation. Ovarian hormones. Ovarian hormones cause cyclic changes in the endometrium of the uterus. There are 3 cyclic phases, each passing into the next in a continuous process. So in this picture you can see different stages of cycle, menstrual cycle. So starting from follicular phase, then luteal phase and menstrual phase. So first we'll start with menstrual phase. Day 1 of menstruation is the beginning of the cycle. The functional layer of uterine wall is sloughed off and discarded. It occurs at about 28th day. Intervals and lasts for about 3 to 6 days. It occurs then follicular or proliferative phase. It occurs between 6 to 14 days. It coincides with the growth of ovarian follicles. It is controlled by estrogen secreted by theca interna. Theca interna is around the growing follicles. There is 2 to 3 fold increase in the endometrial thickness, and there is continuous surface epithelium which covers the endometrium. Glands increase in length and number, and the spiral arteries elongate. So you can see again the picture that is the proliferative phase. You can see the arteries are growing. Then we go to secretory or luteal phase. It occurs between days 16 to 28. It coincides with the formation and growth of corpus luteum. Progesterone secreted by corpus luteum stimulates the glandular epithelium to produce a glycogen-rich secretion. Endometrium thickens due to fluid in the stroma. Glands become wide, tortuous, saccular. Spiral arteries grow into the superficial compact layer and become coiled. If an oocyte is released at ovulation and is fertilized, blastocyst begins to implant in the endometrium at about day 20. If fertilization does not occur, the secretory endometrium goes into ischemic phase during the last 2 days of menstrual cycle. So this is the picture again showing the end phase of secretory phase, which is followed by menstruation. Ischemic phase. It is the last part of secretory phase. Endometrium pales. Spiral arteries constrict intermittently due to reduced progesterone secretion. There is stoppage of glandular secretion. As the ischemic period nears to its end, the spiral arteries constrict longer. Blood seeps through the ruptured arterial walls into the surrounding stroma. Pooled blood breaks through the endometrial surface, resulting in bleeding into uterine lumen and the beginning of new menstrual phase. So the picture showing different phases of uterine cycle, that is menstruation followed by follicular phase, again secretory or luteal phase, and followed by again menstrual phase. Menstruation leads to loss of blood of about 35 ml. It is over 3 to 6 day period. Entire compact and most of the spongy uterine layers are lost. The remaining spongy and basal layers undergo regeneration during the next proliferative phase. Menopause. The cycles normally continue until the end of the reproductive life, that is approximately ages between 47 to 52 years. Pregnancy. If pregnancy occurs, menstruation ceases. Endometrium passes into pregnancy phase. After pregnancy, that is after the delivery of baby, ovarian and menstrual cycles resume after about 6 to 10 weeks if there is no breastfeeding. Then we go to describe another competency, that is synchrony between the ovarian and menstrual cycles. Menstruation begins at puberty. It continues throughout the reproductive years. Reproductive cycles occur monthly. Reproductive cycles prepare reproductive system for pregnancy. Hypothalamus. Hypothalamus hormone releasing factor stimulates anterior lobe of hypophysis or anterior pituitary gland and causes the cyclic release of gonadotrophic hormones. The gonadotrophic hormones are follicle stimulating hormone, that is FSH, and luteinizing hormone, that is in brief called as LH. The FSH and LH produce cyclic changes in the ovaries, such as development of follicles, ovulation, corpus luteum formation, and ovarian cycle. FSH promotes the growth of several ovarian follicles, but usually only one forms a mature follicle, which finally expels its oocytes. So in the picture you can see follicle, which is a matured follicle. The follicular development is characterized by growth and differentiation of the primary oocyte, then proliferation of the follicular cells, formation of zona pellucida, development of theca folliculi, that is the connective tissue capsule from the ovarian stroma. So the picture showing the ovarian follicles. So starting from primary, it becomes secondary, then tertiary, then there is ovulation. Ovulation is followed by corpus luteum formation, then involution, and albicans is formed. Corpus albicans is formed. The early follicle development is induced by FSH. Final stages of maturation require LH as well. Growing follicles produce estrogen. Estrogens are predominantly formed by theca interna. Under the influence of FSH and LH, around the mid-cycle or 14 days, follicles grow rapidly, producing a bulge or cystic swelling on the ovarian surface. A small oval avascular spot, the stigma, is seen on the swelling. Before ovulation, the oocyte and some cells of the cumulus oophrus detach from the inside of the distended follicle. At ovulation, there is surge of LH release, the stigma balloons out, forming a surface vesicle, and then it ruptures, expelling the oocyte with follicular fluid. So the picture showing egg structure. So that is one again surrounded by corona radiata. Then follicular cells are there. Then inside you can see the nucleus, the plasma membrane, and zona pellucida. Ovulation, oocyte is covered by zona pellucida and one or more layers of follicular cells which arrange themselves as corona radiata. Signs of ovulation include intermenstrual pain and the basal body temperature raise slightly. Corpus luteum formation. After ovulation, the follicle cells and the theca folliculi collapse and become folded under the influence of LH, and they influence the development of corpus luteum, a glandular structure which secretes mostly progesterone, also some estrogen. Progesterone causes the endometrial glands to secrete, preparing the endometrium for blastocyst implantation. If the cycle is fertilized, the corpus luteum enlarges to form corpus luteum of pregnancy and increases hormone production. With pregnancy, the chorionic gonadotrophin secreted by the trophoblast of the chorion prevents degeneration of the corpus luteum. Corpus luteum degeneration. If the oocyte is not fertilized, the corpus luteum degenerates in 10 to 12 days after ovulation and is transformed into a white scar called as corpus albicans. So the picture showing the ovarian cycle, starting from oocyte, primordial follicle, then primary follicle, then secondary follicle, then we can see egg being released, that is called ovulation. Then there is corpus luteum formation and corpus albicans. Thank you.